Hello, everyone, and welcome to Compassionate Conversations. I'm Tanys Coughlan from My Place Home Care, and I am joined by my co-host, Heidi Gagne.
Hello.
Hello, and we have an awesome guest today, Sue Liko. Welcome, Sue. It's great to have
Good
you.
morning, ladies. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
It's awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Sue.
I run a company that helps seniors downsize. So what that means is that we help them with decluttering because generally they're moving from a 3-4 bedroom house or condo, smaller condo into a retirement home or into other living arrangements. So generally they've been in their homes for over 20-25 years, some up to 40-50 years, which means that they've collected a lot of things over that time period. So they get overwhelmed in figuring out what to take with them, what to do with their belongings that they no longer wish to take with them. If they can, we help them distribute things to family or donations, and then we help them with their moving. We physically pack them up, move them, and we help them unpack on the other end so that they're not living out of boxes for months on end. We just try to get that transition as stress-free as possible. We take on as much of the responsibilities and details as we can. So we work with, if they're moving from their home, we bring in the movers. We do the packing ourselves. We help with the decluttering. If they're going into a retirement home or into a condo, we work with the property managers on the other end to make it a smooth transition and, basically help them in any way we can.
That is amazing work because I can imagine that would be very emotional for many, 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 many people. Even when you're ready to move to a retirement home, you have to dispose or give away special items that you have because, you can only bring so much with you unless you're going to pay for storage for a month on end. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, and typically we don't recommend putting things into storage.
Okay.
Generally, because once they go into storage, they're never looked at again.
Right.
So there's a lot of money being spent on items that the families down the road will have to go through. And all that money being spent for nothing. If it's going to be for 2 or 3 months, then yes,
Right.
because it helps transition from one space to another. But there's got to be a reason behind putting things into storage so that if the family is to come and get it, but they can't get it right away, then yes, absolutely, go into storage. Right. Or if it's, larger items that you want to sell and you can't sell it right away. Again, but we look at the cost versus what they're going to recoup to see whether or not financially it makes sense. So there's a lot of things to consider when doing that. Yeah.
Well, that would be difficult.
Certainly a decision. So
lots of decisions to be made. Yeah.
How do you start with that?
Generally, we start by going in and doing a free in-home consultation. So we will go in, see what the family or the couple or the individual is dealing with, how large a space they're working with, and then I can put together an estimate to say, okay, it's going to take this amount of time. It's going to take a team of this size. We can get it done. And we generally work backwards from their deadline of when they want to be out of their home or their condo or wherever it is that they're living, and then work backwards from that so that we are meeting their deadline. And
that makes sense.
We also do it depending, we take into consideration whether they have medical conditions that they're living with. Because the decision making and the packing and the decluttering, as you mentioned, is a very emotional process, and it's draining. So if we're dealing with clients that are in their 80s or 90s and they've got multiple chronic conditions, then we do shorter decluttering sessions with them, and generally we'll put a day in between for them to recoup and rest and do whatever else they need to do. Generally, they've got medical appointments they have to go to and other things that they need to deal with. So we work around their schedule and put together a schedule that will work for them. So that we don't want to make them sick in the process.
Yeah.
So we want to give them the time to recuperate, rest. And generally that day in between, if they're stuck on something, whether or not they want to give it away or keep it, that 24 hours or 48 hours gives them enough time to make a decision. Even if it's only in the back of their minds, by the time we come back to it, they've already reconciled whether or not it's something that they want to keep. And we have ways of working with them to say, okay, why are you hanging on to this? Is this emotional because somebody gave it to you and it's the memories that you want to hang on to, but you don't really need or want what it is that item because you never use it? So how do we deal with that? Yeah. So we have tips and ways to deal with that and walk them through so that by the end of the process, they're okay with it.
I want to touch on that because I am at this stage with my parents. I bring up my parents a lot in this podcast, but my mom is 77 this year. My dad is 80. So they're in the stage where this is happening, and they live on a 15-acre property with an old 200-year-old house thereabouts, you know, and their basement is okay. In the last year or so, it's gotten a lot better. But when I was growing up, their basement still had my dad's high school textbooks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. And like it's a lot. And my mom is really into, you know, food storage and all this sort of thing. So she had lids upon lids upon lids of canning jars. And I would go down to the basement to get something out of the freezer. And I'd just look at this and think, oh my gosh, in like 15 years, I'm going to have to throw all this out. Like, it's very overwhelming. So I could imagine how overwhelming it would be for her. So I love decluttering. I love organizing. It is like, love doing that stuff. So I've tried to help people before and friends. And I had one friend in high school who was a pack rat. And I'd be like, okay, but does this bring you joy? Like, why are you keeping it? Does it bring you joy? Is there a purpose to it? What do you need it for? Could we take a picture of it and make a photo album? And then you're only dealing with one book versus like 15 items. But then I recently heard one thing that I thought was the funniest thing. And it's, if it got poop on it, would you clean it or throw it out?
Yeah, it's funny.
And I was just like, that's a really good way of looking at something, though.
It is, absolutely. I was actually going to bring that up because I saw that the other day as well. But yeah, exactly. Would you be willing to clean it off? And it doesn't mean that much to you that you would be willing to clean it off, or would you say, oh, well, okay, let's toss it?
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it comes down to. And, you know, depending on your space, I've had some clients where usually men that are moving on with their lives, and they're saying, okay, we're getting rid of everything. It was like, whoa, slow down. Because you actually physically need certain things. Like, you know, you need a couch to sit on or a recliner to sit on. You need your bed. You need, you know, a nightstand. It's like, okay, if you're looking to buy new, totally understandable. That's fine. But if you're just looking to move and get rid of everything, well, no, technically, you know, that's not feasible, and you actually need to take stuff with you, because you're not going to sleep on the floor, you know, not in your 80s and 90s or even in your 70s.
Yeah, no air mattresses for a month. We're not in college.
Exactly. So yeah, it really depends, because like I said, I've had it both ways, where one's ready to get rid of everything and, you know, just doesn't want to deal with it. It's like, no, just, it's all going. And the other end, where they're hanging on so tight because of the emotions and the memories involved. So really, we have to kind of work both ways. Like I said, we have to, the ones that want to get rid of everything, it's like, no, let's take a look. And one of the services that we offer is that we actually will go into this space that they're moving into, whether it's a new house, a new condo, a retirement home, whatever or, you know, even roommates or whatever it is that they're doing. They're moving into someone else's home or someone else's condo. we will take a look at the floor plan layout. We will go
Okay.
in and take measurements of the rooms that they're moving into. We also take measurements of their existing furniture, and we will do a floor plan layout for them, because they'll say, oh, that's not going to fit, that's not going to fit, that's not going to fit. And it's like, okay, let's make a list of the items that you absolutely want to have with you and to take with you. And then we're going to make a wish list of items that, you know, if you have the space, we'll put in.
Okay.
And so I will measure all of those pieces of furniture and do a floor plan layout and show them potential layouts of how this will fit and what items will and won't fit. And if there's something on their wish list that they're willing to trade
Mm-hmm.
for something on their must-have list, then we can work it that way too if we can't fit everything in. So it's really a matter of going back and forth with the client as to, because sometimes they would say must have, and then they think about it later and it's like, you know what, maybe I don't need that, but I really, really do want this. So it's
Okay.
giving them the time too to think about it. It's like, okay, this works, this layout works. I like the way that it's laid out. It's quite, you know, I can get around in here, and it's like, oh, there's an empty space there. What about if we put this in there?
Right.
So it gives them choice as well. So they don't feel that they're being moved and they have no decision-making power or control over the situation. We never want a client to feel that way. We always want them to be able to guide us to where they want to go. And then we bring in our expertise to say, okay, this will work, this won't work. So that they're still in control. I will never tell a client, no, you can't take that. I've had clients that say, no, I'm taking it anyways. And it's like, absolutely. And then once they get there, they'll see, okay, there really isn't the space.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
so I was just going to say, I think that's what's important about hiring somebody to do that. Because as a child, and you're trying to tell your parents what to do, they're going to automatically go, no, you can't tell me what to do. I taught you how to use a spoon. Like, no. You know, like, no, let's talk about, you know, and as you get older, you do, your choices are limited. You do start to, and it's just your pure body. You know, your body is giving out on things and all this kind of stuff. So having somebody who is neutral come in probably has saved a lot of relationships.
I,
and it's funny because a lot of times it is the adult children that call us, saying that, you know, mom and dad need to move, or, you know, this is what we're dealing with. How can you help us?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times the adult children are still working, have children of their own, don't have the time to devote or don't have the vacation time to take off to be able to spend that much time to help out. I've had clients where the kids are not even in the same country.
Yeah.
You know, they're calling from Europe and Australia and the United States saying, mom and dad live in Ottawa. I can't come up right now. Can you meet with them? How can you help? I will, you know, we will talk and do it either through Zoom calls or telephone calls or email messages or whatever it is to facilitate it. But yeah, we're usually brought in by adult children saying that, you know, we're trying to help, but we can only give so much time, and it's not enough time. So how can you come in? How can you help us? And what can you do to get this process going? I've had a lot of clients where children are out of country. I've even had clients where the kids are in. One sibling is in Ottawa, another sibling is in a different city. So we pack up the mom and dad, and they're moving to the other city. So we're able to facilitate that as well. We do have colleagues in different cities that we can call on to help with the unpacking process, so that they're not left on their own to unpack if that's part of the service that they want. So we're able to facilitate that as well. So there's a lot that we can do depending on how much help they decide they need.
Right.
And sometimes they need full service and what we call white glove service. So we can, if we're coming in at the very beginning of the process where they're looking to put their house up for sale, they don't have a real estate agent, they haven't started any of the decluttering, any of that, we can help them by offering them several real estate agents to talk to see who they click with best. And I
Right.
always say, go on, interview many of them. I'll give them 3. I'll say interview each one. Go with the one that you feel most comfortable with. Generally, the ones that I offer are ones that I've worked with in the past, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that they're good people. They're going to follow up on what they promised.
Right.
We can do what I call light staging. So because a lot of the seniors don't want to spend money renting staging furniture and decor and all of that, we will use existing furniture. We will rearrange, we will declutter so that we are presenting the house in the best possible way. We also
Right.
do deep cleaning prior to a listing so that, a lot of times the baseboards haven't been cleaned in a couple of years. So we'll clean the baseboards, we clean the light fixtures, we do a deep clean on the bathroom and the kitchen, so that when people are walking through, it's like, wow, this is really nice. This is like move-in condition.
Right.
So that helps sell the property faster. And we can also, if things need to be fixed, their repairs need to be made, we do have handymen that we work with, that we bring in. They are trusted. We've worked with them before. We know that they're reliable and they'll get the job done. And what we do is that we coordinate all of this so that the seniors don't have to worry about it. We're a
Right.
one-stop shop. We bring it all together for them, and then they just pay one bill at the end. They're not paying all these individual people separately. We
Right.
give them one bill at the end, and then we pay our subcontractors who we bring in. We've done full house painting, we've done carpet replacement and floor replacement, and
Wow.
whatever needs to be done to make sure that the house is sellable. Depending on what the client wants,
Right.
and we work within their budget. So if that's not within their budget, then that's fine.
You make it the
Uh,
best you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we've also done estate clear outs where, the family isn't able to cope with clearing out the full estate because the house is full. So
Yeah.
we will come in and we will sort. Any paperwork needs to be sorted. We will go through papers that need to go to the lawyers, get sent to the lawyer's office. Anything that can be donated furniture wise or decor or kitchen, anything like that, we donate to local charities. And then only what is garbage gets thrown into garbage, and we bring in garbage, the junk removal services, to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that that's taken care of. And again, if it needs painting or flooring repair or whatever updating to get it sellable, we will work with the lawyer who is the state representative, trustee, or the family, or whoever it is that is putting the home up for sale. We will work with them and their budgets to make sure that that is cleaned. And again, we'll do a deep clean. So the fridge is clean, the stove is clean. We pull out the fridge and the stove, and we clean in behind as well. Window sills, window rails, the
Wow.
whole bit. So, I mean, it is literally move-in ready when it goes up for sale. And so we will take on as much responsibility as the client wants us to.
Yeah, I was looking on your website and looking at all the different services you provide. So if somebody wants literally just, they've already decluttered, they're happy with what they have and all that, so they can just have you come in and do the packing itself, and then movers come and then you help with unpack. So like it's very customizable, exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's
We
really
tailor
handy.
we tailor to whatever they want. So if all they
Right.
want us to do is pack, we'll come in and we'll pack. I
Okay.
have a team that I bring in. So depending on how big the pack is, if it's a 1-bedroom apartment, it goes pretty quick. If it's a 4-bedroom house, I bring in a larger team to get it done within their deadline. So really, it is every project is different, and every client is different. So people ask us, well, how much does this cost? As well, I need to come and see what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't give me a price over the phone? No, unfortunately,
No.
I can't, because I don't know how much stuff you have and
You could be a
how.
collectible of teacups and teaspoons and samurai swords. And I mean, those are all very different packing types of things.
Well,
Yeah,
and I don't,
yeah.
I think in my
And
experience,
a
we're not,
minimalist is different from, like you said, someone who is a collector. So,
Yeah.
I can't over the phone. I actually physically have to go in and see what each client is dealing with. And we do offer free on-home consults just for that purpose.
Right.
So that there's no commitment, there's no paying out for us to come into, and we give them a written estimate outlining all the details based on the conversation that we had as to what they want, what services that they want, and I'll break it down so that once they look at the services provided and the cost, they can say, okay, well, I want this, I want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. My family stepped up; they're going to take care of this. So, it really depends. So yeah, we can't give just a figure saying,
Price
well,
over the phone.
typically this is what it's going to cost. We can't do that.
well, and we're not very good judges of our own clutter.
Yeah.
Right?
No, we're
You tend to
not.
be in the house and you see it all the time, and so it's just there. And so we
Yeah.
don't, somebody else comes in and sees it and goes, whoa, that's a lot. But our own judgment about our own clutter is not always accurate. I know when we moved in to this house that we're in, the people had left some stuff in the house and they thought, oh, well, it's just a few things. Well, it was a full garage full of stuff.
Oh boy.
So it was, but it's because they didn't see their own clutter, right? They didn't see it. They just saw it as like a couple of things. So we're not a good judge really when we're, and I know, I'm sure that if somebody walked into my place, it would be like, you have clutter. And I'm like, but it's my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm a firm believer. I don't like clutter. That's the organizer in me. And if it has a place, if it has a home, then I am okay to keep it. I had a friend over with her daughter, and we were doing something. We were making flower bouquets for my oldest daughter's wedding, and all the elastics that came around all the flowers. She's like, "Do you want me to throw these out?" And I said, "No, I'll take them." She's like, "Oh my God, you keep everything." And I'm like, "Yeah, but in my drawer, I have a specific spot just for elastics." And I started keeping the plastic bread ties because so many things now come with paper ones, which you use once and then they're garbage. But I have a home for them. So I don't mind keeping something if there's a home for it and I don't have to move everything around to give it a home.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that when I go in to help people organize, that's one of the things that we try and instill in them, is that because mental health issues these days is a huge problem, and your surroundings, your home contributes to that. So if it's cluttered and you can't find things and you need something and you can't find it and you have to go look for it and it takes you half an hour and you still can't find it, that's stressful.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot of anxiety, ends up costing, because then, oh, well, I can't find it, I'll just go out and buy a new one.
Yeah.
And how many times have you gone out and bought a new one? So, it does take a toll in many ways. So to bring somebody in to help you declutter, to find a home for everything, so that when you're looking for it, you know exactly where it is. I'll do a scenario of getting ready in the morning. People who are going out to work in an office, they can't find they've put their telephone down. They can't find it. So they have to go look for that. Then they can't find their keys. They have to go look for that. Then they've misplaced their wallet. They have to go for that. And so by the end of it, you're like 20 minutes behind schedule, which means that by the time you're in your car, you're already stressed out because you're late. And then, road rage because people are not moving as fast as you would like them to. So by the time you get to your office, you're already late, you're behind schedule, and you are stressed out.
Yeah.
Which overflows into the office, because then everybody around you is going to feel your anxiety, your stress, and everything else. And you're trying to play catch up all day long. And so by the time you get home, you're worn out, you're pissed off, because again, by the time you're in your car to drive home, you're not happy because you've had a crummy day. And it's all because it started in the morning with you not being able to find your stuff.
And then you get home and you just throw your keys on the counter and your wallet on the counter, and then your spouse comes along and moves them because they need to make dinner from the spot on the counter, and then they get lost again, and then guess what happens tomorrow?
Perpetual cycle.
Exactly. It's horrible. It's difficult.
And a lot of people live that way. And the other scenario that I use is that when you get home, you know, you're dropping your coat here, you're dropping your bag, your lunch bag here, your whatever else you were carrying there, and you're leaving a trail through the house, and you can see exactly where you've been as you come in, and then, you know, it never gets put away. Or one or two items might get put away, but generally it just gets left because you're so drained and exhausted by the end of the day that you're not cleaning and decluttering. So, you know, and then on weekends, everybody's too busy because they have to go grocery shopping. They got the kids' activities to do. They've got this to do. They've got that to do. They've got other commitments. So when does it get done?
It is so hard. The clutter situation is it can be so debilitating. I have a big, beautiful island. We renovated our house a few years ago. And okay, I never want to do that again. I'm just saying. It was 9 months. We renovated our entire downstairs and our upstairs bathroom. It was so much dirt, so much clutter. And I don't like clutter. It will stress me out. But I had this big, beautiful island. And I do a lot of things. On one end is where I do all my meal prep and everything. But in the center, I always like to have flowers. But my husband would come home from work and he'd put his lunch bag on the island, which is fine because he's going to empty it. But then he'd throw his keys in his wallet, and he keeps a little calendar of his list of things that he needs to do, his mental checklist. And he would just leave it on the counter. And then I'd move it because I'm wiping the counter. And then I'd move it again. And it would always be right there. And it would just, I'm like, okay, you need to do something. Like this needs to, he's like, well, if it's not here, I'm going to forget it. It needs to be in my eye line. Okay. So I went to the dollar store and I bought a tall, narrow, clear square container, and everything goes in there. And if it doesn't fit in there, then it needs to be put away properly, because in there is just what he needs. Unfortunately, it does become a bit of a catch-all. So like every couple of weeks, we kind of sort it out and clean it, but it's all contained. It's all contained. It's a little contained clutter mess, and it sits next to the Kleenex box, so it doesn't look out of place. And I swear to God, some of these things have saved our relationship, because we both hate clutter, but he also has mild OCD, and I'm just really organized. So we kind of work together, but then we kind of don't, because then he needs to put it right here, where I'm like, that's not where it should go though. So we've learned over our 20 years together on how to balance that and what is each other's strengths. And okay, I can handle your wallet always being here if it's in a container. He's like, I can handle the container being here so I can put my wallet in it. You know, it's just these little things, but it could be very difficult if you don't have one person to kind of think of that. So having a professional come in like you that can actually say, what if we do this? Yeah. And it would be so less stress for so many people if they would just hire somebody to come in and help with decluttering and organizing.
And it's funny too, because I mean, I usually give homework. So if I come in and we're working with a client, it's like, okay, are you willing to do homework? And how much time are you able to spend on it? So I will see what they're capable of doing and what they're, you know, what kind of sweat equity they want to put in themselves. Mm-hmm. And then we'll work with that. And then it's like, okay, take one of your little egg timers or your kitchen timers, put it on for 15 minutes, spend 15 minutes doing the homework that I've given you. And then once the 15 minutes is up, put it aside and go do what you need to do. 15 minutes a day to declutter. And it can be just one specific little area. You don't have to run through the entire house trying to figure out what you can do in 15 minutes. Pick one spot. Yeah. Do it for 15 minutes. And then work your way up from that. So if the first week you're doing 15 minutes, you get used to that routine. Yeah. Then you can set it for 20 minutes, you know, the second week. And then 25 minutes the third week, and then half an hour the fourth week, or whatever, fourth week, I've lost count. But so that you're building up that that habit of
Mm-hmm.
every day a certain amount of time goes to a certain area, and it could be a different area each time. So it doesn't have to be just one spot. And generally, if we're if someone is new to decluttering and organizing, I'll
Mm-hmm.
start them somewhere where there's no emotional attachment. So no emotional attachment, it means underwear and sock drawer, linen closet, you know,
Bathroom?
Bathroom.
bathroom, old products you haven't used in the bathroom. Like I go into some
Oh,
bathrooms and there's stuff there from like 10 years ago. And I asked them, do you use that? Oh God, no, I haven't used that in years. It's like, well,
okay
why
to
are you
throw that
keeping it?
out.
Let's toss that,
Yeah.
so it's just that kind of thing where people are saying, well, I'm too busy, but it 15 minutes, go into your bathroom, declutter the cabinet. And it's
Mhm.
not that hard. Like, like the example we just had, you haven't used a product in 10 years, but it's still sitting there. Get rid of it.
And it's freeing. You
Yes.
don't realize how weighted down when you walk into your house and you see the clutter and everything. If it's just something you're used to, if your parents were clutter
Yep.
butts, and all this sort of thing, and hoarders and all that, you don't think about it until you realize that you can release it. And along with it, your shoulders are suddenly like, oh, this is what it's like.
And that's the mental health aspect, right?
Yeah.
People don't realize it's in their subconscious that they're carrying all this extra weight, and
Mm-hmm.
physically it feels like weight on your
It
body.
does.
Like you said, the weight releases and your shoulders, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you can feel it physically as well as mentally and emotionally. And this is where the mental health aspect comes in, is that the declutter is usually a sign that something's not right in your life.
It's
And,
true.
high level hoarders, generally it's trauma from
Yeah.
earlier. And it's a psychological issue that needs a high level hoarder. So there's like 10 levels of hoarding. When you're higher than level 5, generally you need to have a therapist to work with you to understand what the trauma is that caused this. Like
Okay.
hoarders know what they're doing. They just it's
They
they're
can't help it.
they can't help it.
Yeah.
So this is where the therapy needs to come in, so that they can deal with the issues, the emotional issues that is causing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our lives are so fast paced these days. It's so much faster than it was 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now both husband and wife have to work to be able to pay bills.
Yeah.
Whereas 30, 40 years ago, the mother was home. She could clean and declutter and do all the other things. Now women are coming home after 8 hours of work, totally exhausted, just like the husbands, but they're still expected to take care of the household.
Mm-hmm.
So, the emotional drain, the mental fatigue, all of that attributes to what the house looks like.
And that's a big thing right now, is that mental load. I mean, you see reel upon reel, video upon video on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, about this mental load. And yes, it usually falls onto the woman of the relationship, that has to take on that mental load. And it is debilitating. Like, it is debilitating, that mental load.
It
And not
is.
everyone sees it, because everyone
Yeah.
has a different kind of mental load. Like,
Yeah.
what is my mental load is not necessarily my best friend's mental load.
Yeah.
Similar, maybe, but
But
it's
generally, the women are expected to go to work, put in their 8 hours, be able to help pay bills, because these days you
You have
can't
to.
run off of one salary. It's next to impossible unless you're in a really high end position somewhere. But they're
That brings a
also
whole lot of
expected.
other stress.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But then if they have children, then she's expected to take care of the children. She's expected to take care of the laundry, the groceries, the dinner every night, putting the kids to bed, depending on their age. and then, you know, getting ready for the next day. You know, it's no wonder that women are exhausted, and the a lot, sometimes the men are helping out, sometimes they're not, depending on when, because uh, when men are working and when women are working, they're not necessarily working a 9 to 5 job. Like, one could be working evenings or
Yeah.
overnights, and the other one could be working during the day. So, I mean, all of this plays part, and I'm not trying to dump on men,
No.
because there are a lot of men that do actually do a lot of the household upkeep as well. But it's still, you know, the women are the ones making the appointments for doctors appointments and dentist appointments and whatever other appointments that the kids have to go to. um, you know, so there's I find that there's a little extra load on women as opposed to men, unless the men are taking on that load.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it really depends how the
this.
relationship is. But either way, both men and women are overloaded these days with all the things that have to get
With
done.
everything.
So it is, it's very taxing. It's very tiring. The mental load is very hard to carry. So what gets neglected? The house.
Mhm.
Always.
Because it's the only thing that can be neglected, because the people have to be taken care of.
Yeah, you can get arrested for not neglecting your family. You can't get arrested for neglecting your house. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Extreme
You
cases,
can't get arrested,
not
but
arrested, but you can lose your kids and stuff.
true.
yeah, so
True.
Yeah.
depending on what's going on, I mean, higher level hoarders, I mean, I've had where neighbors haven't seen their older neighbors for a while, so they will call 911 to say, you know, I haven't seen my neighbor in days.
Yeah,
I've
the one
gone
protect.
over, knocked on the door, they're not answering. Can you have somebody come out and check? And, you know, either police or the paramedics or whatever are sent out, and when they get there, they see the condition that the senior is living in, and then it's like, okay, you need help, and we can't leave you in this situation. So at that point, they don't have the choice of living in a hoarding situation, because now, because it's been identified and it's
Yeah.
hazardous. It's high level hoarding is hazardous fire wise,
Mm-hmm.
health wise. You know, sometimes the cleaners have to go in hazmat suits to clean out.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I've seen those
for
videos.
multiple different reasons,
Mhm.
people have to come in and take care of that situation. They can no longer live in that situation. I've had clients where they've got a 3 bedroom house, and they're sleeping on the couch because they can't get into the bedrooms.
So how do you start? Because I know any I've helped my daughter, my youngest one. She has high anxiety, and she just gets so overwhelmed. She doesn't know what to do. When her room used to get so messy that you couldn't walk in it, and I said, and I would always be like, okay, let's pick up all the clothes off the floor. Let's start with that. And so what kind of tips would you provide people who are kind of, okay, maybe not at level 5 or higher hoarders, but at that stage of pure exhaustion and so overwhelmed that they have no idea how to start? What would you suggest they at least try?
Okay, so what you're doing with your daughter is great. That's the way that I would first start, is let's pick up the things that we can pick up off the floor that will take like 5-10 minutes,
Yeah.
and put the timer on for her. Say, look, we're going to spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes in here together,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to pick up items off the floor that we can get up off the floor. And if she's got a hamper, throw the clothes in the hamper, or into a laundry basket, and take it to wherever your laundry room is so that it can get washed. So at least that's out of there, and she can see that there is progression being made in a very, very short period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
even that small amount can help ease some of that anxiety. And then the next day, do the same thing. So if the clothes have gotten off the floor the first day, what toys, if she's got toys on the floor, is there a home for those toys. If not, how are you going to solve that problem? Where are you going to purchase something to put the toys into so that when she's finished playing with them, she can easily put them away, like a toy chest? I'm not sure how old your children are.
Well, she's 17 now, but this was when she was younger. And now she's actually quite meticulous in her room. It can get to the stage where I'll walk in and go, your room's looking a little messy. She's like, yep, I know, I'm cleaning it tomorrow. You know?
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
But I mean, that also was part of her anxiety as well, I think. And the fact that she likes organization and everything put away, because she's me light. Just like I'm my mom light, and my mom is my grandmother light. So, but
really it's starting small.
Yeah.
And so if she's going to be stressed out, or if a child's going to be stressed out, putting too much time in it, and children, their
or
focus,
senior.
or a senior, you know, their focus and attention isn't going to last forever. So start with the 10-15 minutes and the timer.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, I only have to do this for 10-15 minutes, and the timer's going to tell me when I'm done, and it's going to be like, yay. And then they may decide, you know what, I'm okay with spending a little bit more time. Let's put it on for another 5-10. Yeah, this feels good. Let's I'm seeing progression. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's taking those small steps and adding to them on a daily, weekly basis, and making it a consistent daily habit or weekly habit. It's like every Friday we're doing this, every Saturday we're doing that. And it doesn't have to be the entire day. Again, just pick amount of time that you want to do it for and spend that time. Make that commitment to yourself. It's like, put it in your calendar. You wouldn't cancel an appointment with your doctor or your dentist because you don't have time for them. Now, sometimes something comes up and you genuinely can't make your appointment.
Right.
But with a dentist or a doctor or something else that's there, you keep those appointments because you know that you've made it and you've made that commitment. Well, do the same thing with the appointments with yourself. Put it in the calendar.
Yeah.
And have it come up saying, okay, in 15 minutes, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Or in an hour, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And keep that commitment to yourself.
Right.
Because you're just as important as that commitment to the dentist or the doctor or whatever else that you have. Yeah. That time is sacred to you. And you need to put yourself first, even if it is only for 15 minutes. You need to put yourself and your well-being into perspective. So that 15 minutes is for your mental health. And if you're not willing to give yourself 15 minutes for your mental health, then nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah. There's a lot more deep down that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people have struggled with that, right?
Yeah.
Self-worth.
Yeah.
Not feeling worthy of spending the time on themselves.
And then, but once you start making this a habit, and that's why I suggest doing it on a daily basis, 10 minutes every day. Like everybody has 10 minutes on a daily basis. You know, how much time do you spend watching television or scrolling through your phone or whatever you spend time on? You can take 10 minutes out of that to yourself and put it towards something constructive. And like you said, as you see the progression and you see things being decluttered and moving out, that weight coming off your shoulders, it's a high. Yeah. And you want to chase that high. So once you start getting that feeling, that good feeling and accomplishment each day, it's going to trigger you to want to do it because it makes you feel better. And then that's going to raise your mental health because you're now feeling better about yourself. You're feeling better about your environment. You feel like you have more control over things, and it's going to snowball. And you're going to get to a point where it's like, I don't ever want to get back to that point. It's like you not wanting to go through another renovation for 9 months where everything is everywhere, right? Yeah. You want to keep your status quo. So once you get your house cleaned up and decluttered, and it could take a year, it could take more, it could take less. It really depends on how much stuff you have. Yeah. But you're going to want to keep it that way because it makes you feel good.
You get your dopamine.
Exactly. And it makes you feel relaxed. You can come home and relax as opposed to, oh, I need to take care of this, or, oh, I need to take care of that. And the more stuff you need to take care of, the more you're going to procrastinate because it's overwhelming. So that's why you need to start where you're at. And that's what we do with our clients. We start with where they're at and deal with, okay, this is going to take so much time. This is where we can help. This is where your homework is. We don't chastise them if they don't do their homework. But it's like, okay, you've now extended the amount of time that it's going to take to get this done. So if you don't do your homework, the only penalty is that you're not going to meet your deadline for when you wanted to meet it.
Right.
And they have to take the responsibility of that.
Right.
So, and that's why we ask them, like, are you willing to do homework? Are you not willing to do homework? Because if you say you're going to do homework and then it's not done when we get there, then either we need to take that on in your place, or we're going to give it to you as homework again and see what happens.
Right.
So, we need our clients to take ownership of where they're at. We're more than willing to come in and help them emotionally, physically do what needs to be done. But, in the end, it's really up to them as to what happens.
Right.
Now, do you have counselors that you work with as well?
I was gonna ask that.
Like
at the moment, no, but there are a lot of good counselors out there. Generally, if a client asks me, I can source people for them fairly quickly. There's a lot of networks out there now that, if I go to and I ask for recommendations, I can get recommendations, personal references, which I can check out and then offer to the client. And again, I'll give them several and say, look, interview each one, see which one you resonate with, see which one fits within your budget. But you need to deal with this. And this, I have one client that's a hoarder, and I get a phone call from her about once a year saying, I need your help again. But she's not willing to do the mental work, the emotional work to overcome it. So it's just a matter of going in.
The cycle.
It's a losing battle, because we know that, she's going to be back, and it's sad to see, and
it's heartbreaking.
It is very heartbreaking. And you see the amount of money that's being thrown out, because every time we go in, she's bought more stuff. Generally, her kitchen she lives alone, but it's stuffed full enough to feed a family of 10. And half the time that has to go into the garbage.
It's spoiled, outdated. You can't donate it. You can't give it away.
No. And so,
in situations like that, you wouldn't really want to donate half that stuff, because you don't know what's happened to it.
There's nothing that we can do with it, because a lot of it is been sitting in the fridge for a year or more, or on the counter or whatever. So it's not donatable. You can't give it away. It's ruined. It needs to be thrown out. And I look at her and it's like, I feel badly for her, because she's putting out so much money on this, and it's feeding some need, like physically and mentally feeding a need, but it's also wasted.
It's like, you wish you could put that money towards therapy. It would be cheaper in the long run, most likely, than spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a week on food that you're not going to eat, versus $150 for a therapy session.
It's a hard thing for them, though.
It's very hard to get to.
Clothing as well. So, I mean, when they say retail therapy, retail therapy is not good therapy.
No.
We moved this client, I think 5 years ago, and she moved into a 3-bedroom condo from a house. And the last time I was there was still the original boxes that we had packed up 5 years ago in one of the bedrooms, and the entire bedroom is full. So there's got to be at least somewhere between 30 and 50 boxes in there. And a lot of it is clothing.
Right.
And she goes out and shops for more clothing. That's her therapy. So when I see the amount of money that she is spending, and it's really sad to see that that's what she finds as her only option. Really, therapy would help her quite a bit.
Yeah. So
You know,
one thing,
when I was in the field as a home support worker, I had a client like that, and it can be very discouraging for them as well. You know, I remember I would go and I would do like a big clearing. So she was one that we only had, you know, a little path
Right.
to get into the
Mhm.
apartment, and there was two little spots on the couch to sit, and we would just go and sit and discuss what we were going to do, and then we would start somewhere.
Yeah.
And there were days when I would spend full days with her, and we would get one room to a point where it was controllable, but we only had the one day, you know, and then it would be
Mhm.
a while, and then I would go back again, and because she needed something in the cupboard or something like that, everything was all pulled out again. And so
Yeah.
even though we
Yeah.
were getting rid of some stuff, it was a challenge for her to get rid of it. And I felt for her because it was very it was an emotional
It
roller
is.
coaster for her.
Yeah.
And
When you get into hoarding, they're very attached.
Mhm.
So that's a different circumstance altogether than just regular decluttering.
Yeah.
it is, yeah. Yeah.
So I noticed that you coordinate the sale, donation, and removal of items. Okay, so my worst thing is I'll collect a whole bunch of things going, I'm going to donate these and put them in a bag, and then they sit in my front porch for 4 months, and then I put them in my car going, I swear to God, I'm going to drop them off. And then another 4 months they're sitting in my car, and then my husband gets mad at me. He's like, what are you going to do with them? And then
Yeah.
they just end up going to the garbage, which is starting to really irk me as I don't know, I'm feeling more environmentally friendly as every day, and it just irks me with how much stuff we throw out.
Yeah.
But how do you get the items to donation? Like, do you have any tips for like a regular person who needs to do it themselves? Like, how do you do it? How do you get it there?
It's the same thing. Make the time to get. There's delivery service or drop-off services all over the city. So you can go to Salvation Army, the Mission Thrift Store, St. Vincent de Paul. There's all kinds of different places that you can donate to. So make that commitment of time for yourself. So if you've made the time to collect all this stuff to donate, make the time to go and drop it off. Generally, if we're working with a client and we have a session with them and it's a decluttering session and we bag or box whatever it is they're donating, we take it out at the end of the day.
Right.
Because if we leave it there, they'll second guess themselves and go through it again and pull stuff out. Or it'll just sit there and it won't go anywhere. So part of the services is that when we're done with you at the end of the day, whatever you've decided to donate, we're taking out the door and we're going to drop it off on your behalf. There's also pickup services. So I believe Canadian Diabetes and Cerebral Palsy both have pickups from home. So if you call them to find out what kind of donations they accept, they'll come through your neighborhood on certain days, and you just have to put a note on the bag or the box saying for whoever it is to pick up. So if it's Canadian Diabetes Association, you just put Canadian Diabetes, put it out by your front door, and they'll come pick it up from there. So there's different ways of getting it out the door, but make sure that if you've made the time to declutter and pack and bag, that you've added that extra half hour to go and drop it off. We also do, if we're doing a clear out of a house because they're moving out, or we're doing an estate clear out, we will take the household hazardous waste because you can't put it in the regular garbage. And junk removal services won't pick it up. It's not within their parameters. So we will box and bag whatever household hazardous waste, and we will take it once a month. The city holds the hazardous waste removal dump sites around the city, and it's I think there's one coming up on May 24th, and I can't remember where it is exactly at this time, but it's on the city's website. So once a month during the summer, from May until I think October or November, you're able to go and dump that. So we will do it on behalf of the client. So if they need to get rid of, old paints can go into either Rona or Lowe's, or I think even Home Depot recycles old paint cans. Yeah. So old paint cans, if the can is the paint inside is dried out, you can put it out to your regular garbage pickup.
Yeah.
If pardon me, if it's still liquid, then you can take it to drop off to the recycler. So again, Rona, Lowe's, I think Home Depot, they will all recycle. So you can take the cans back to them. There are also light bulbs you can take, I can't remember if it's Rona or one of these places also takes light bulbs and batteries. So all those can be dropped off to local recyclers at any time. Best Buy will take anything that's electrical. So if it has a plug-in cord or it has batteries, any kind of electronic, you can drop it off to them anytime.
Nice.
And so that's easy to get out the door as well. And so we will do that, like I said, with our clients, whether they're packing and decluttering to move, or they're just organizing their space and want to get rid of this stuff. We will take it with us at the end of the session and drop it off to whatever recycler it needs to be dropped off to.
So what would you suggest to somebody, either a senior who's realizing, living at home, I'm either alone or, I'm getting tired of using the stairs and I'm thinking about moving. When should they start the decluttering process? And when is a good time to start thinking about it or talking to your parents? Because I've been bugging my mom for about 2 years consistently. But when would you approach that subject with a loved one or think about it yourself?
Okay. So as soon as that thought comes to your head, is it time to start decluttering?
Okay.
The longer time you can give yourself to declutter, the better it is, because then you're not doing it under pressure or stress of time limits.
Okay.
So if you thought, okay, maybe in a couple of years, a year or 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, I want to move. Start looking at what you have now. Because now you can say, okay, I've got this. I'd like to give it to so-and-so as part of their inheritance, or I will approach my family to, and I'll let them know that these are the things that I'm looking at giving away. Do they want any of it?
Okay.
And then that way you can start, okay, so-and-so wants this, so-and-so wants that. Give them a deadline to come get it, saying, okay, if you haven't gotten it by such and such a date, and you can give them 3 months, 6 months, whatever time you want to give them, but give them a deadline, because if you don't give them a deadline, they won't do it. They won't put it in, and remind them, deadline's coming close. Do you want this? Because if you don't pick it up by this date, it's going and you won't have it.
And stay firm.
Stay firm. Yeah, absolutely. Stay firm. And if they decide, well, I wanted that, but I didn't come pick it up. Well, sorry, but that's on you. That responsibility is on you. I gave you the opportunity. I gave you reminders. I told you before, like a week before, you didn't make it a priority in your life. Therefore, it's not a priority for you. So that this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And give them the responsibility. Don't hang on to it. Don't feel guilty about it. If it was really a priority for them and they really, really wanted it, they make the time to come get it. And this is what people don't realize, is that if they haven't made the time, then it's not a priority for them and they don't really care about it. Right?
Well, it's the same thing when you sell anything on Facebook Marketplace and everything. It's like, well, can you hold it for a week? No, I can't. It's on my porch. Come get it if you want. If you don't pick it up tonight, then I'm going to let the next person know. Because it's not on me. You want it, you get it.
Yeah. And I mean, you can be reasonable about it. If you know that they're out of the country for a year,
right,
but they want something, then it's say, okay, when you come back, I'm not moving for a couple of years. So I will put this aside for you, but when you come back, you need to come get it.
Mm-hmm.
And hold them to it. So, you can be reasonable with it. You don't have to be really hard and say, well, too bad, so sad. Unless you really have to move and they're not here. Now, the option is you can store that for them and have them pay for the storage. Yeah. Because that's how you'll know whether or not that's really important to them, right? Exactly. If they're willing to pay for the storage for a year or for however long it needs to be stored for, then that's important to them and they want to keep it. And then the responsibility isn't on you anymore. It's up to them to pay for the storage and to come get it when they're ready to come get it. And it's out of your house, your home, your thoughts, because it's no longer there. It's no longer yours.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different ways that this can play out. But yeah, did I answer your question? I've kind of gone off topic, I think.
No. I think so.
It's good.
Okay.
So
we have.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we have like just a minute or two, but
Yeah.
what is a typical process if somebody wants the services? What is the typical process? You were saying that it could take months, it could take, however time, but how do you start to the point, like you come in, you do your assessment, and then what's the first thing that you usually do? Is it decluttering? Is it cleaning? Is it?
Well, no, cleaning is never the first place. We need to declutter before we can clean, but we meet our clients where they're at. So if you're at, you need to declutter to even figure out what it is that you want to keep, then that's where we meet them. If they've already done the decluttering and they just need packing, then we'll come in and pack them. But generally, once you start moving furniture around and moving furniture out of the house, that's when you see the dust bunnies, that where the couch hasn't been pulled out in years to be vacuumed in behind, or, you move large pieces of furniture out and then realize, okay, the baseboards need to be washed. That's when you get to see what needs to be done as far as the cleaning process. Mm-hmm. Or if they haven't, I find a lot of people don't clean their stoves regularly, don't clean their fridges regularly, haven't pulled them out in years, so that needs to be done. So it really, meet them where they're at. That's the easiest that I can say, is figure out where they're at and then work from there.
Mm-hmm. Such a process. That is so, but such a needed process. It's like such a needed skill. It really is a skill. That what you do is skilled, because you have to help people say goodbye to things.
Well, and what I say that I'm selling is stress relief. That's what we're giving to our clients, is we're trying to relieve as much stress and pressure off of them as we possibly can. We will take on all the details so that they don't have to think about it. We keep them in the loop and we tell them what's going on and what's being done, but they don't have to worry about the small details, because we will take that off their hands and take care of it for them.
That coordination of everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's quite a process. For sure. And stressful when especially if you're moving into a retirement residence or something, there's a lot of considerations, a lot of family stress at that time, big changes. So.
Yeah. And it's funny because at the end of the process, both the seniors themselves and the adult children come and thank us and say, that helped so much. It took so much pressure and stress off of us. And we really are grateful for the services that you've provided, because it is stress relief, and they shoulder so much of the burden, that whatever we can take off them and lift their shoulders up so that they can think of the other things that need to be done and give them their lives back, then we will take that on.
Beautiful.
Such a needed service.
Well, we've come to the end of our time, and I am thrilled to have had the conversation with you, Sue. That was great. I'm sure that our viewers will get lots from those tidbits and stuff. And all of your information will be posted below the video, so please check it below the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will be back in a couple of weeks with a compassionate chat. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks. Take care.